WhiskyCast. Proudly brought to you by Redbreast, the definitive single pot-still Irish whiskey. Join the Stillhouse at singlepotstill.com and receive an exclusive whiskey tasting journal.
I'm Mark Gillespie. Welcome to another episode of WhiskyCast HD. A lot of distilleries like to talk about having pure natural water for their water supply that they make their whiskey with, but they don't always show you where the water comes from. In some cases, it's actually a city water system, and the water main feeds the distillery. This is definitely not a city water system. This is the Tarlogie Springs just outside of Tain, Scotland. It's where Glenmorangie gets its water for the 16 men of Tain to do their work.
Many distilleries in Scotland get their water from the rivers or burns, and that makes them vulnerable to dry spells. That doesn't happen here. In fact, the Tarlogie Springs has never run dry.
So the spring water bubbles up from under the surface, and all around here is woodland, and we own the woodland, so the rain falls into the woodlands and soaks down into the reservoir underneath us here. And over a period of 100 years, we reckon it takes 100 years for the rain to fall and the water to come back up to the surface. So it's quite a long period. So the water bubbles up under its own pressure naturally to the surface, and it comes through the rock strata, picking up the minerals as it goes. So it's a limestone and sandstone rock underneath here. So as it passes through, it picks up sort of minerals. So this water is very mineral rich, which has a big impact on the flavour and the texture of Glenmorangie.
The limestone and sandstone also serve as natural filters, removing any impurities in the water as it rises to the surface.
You can see the water bubbling up. You'd think it was hot water, but it's not. It's cold, icy cold water. It's about 2 or 3 degrees at the moment.
The spring is connected by a pipe to the distillery, where it provides all of Glenmorangie's water needs for mashing, distilling, and reducing the spirit to cask strength. It also provides distillery manager Andy MacDonald with a reason to get out of his office every once in a while.
I was up yesterday just to have a check of it. I come up quite often with the dog for a walk, and I love coming up here because you can see all around. It is a beautiful place to come. It's so peaceful, and to see the water bubbling up, just naturally, it's quite an amazing phenomenon. It's a natural phenomenon, and I just love coming up here to get away from all the hustle and bustle down at the distillery. Some of the harder things that I have to do sometimes come up here just to reflect on life.
Now, you might think a water source as important as this to Glenmorangie would be very heavily secured. In fact, some distilleries in Kentucky have closed-circuit cameras to monitor their water supplies, and they send the security guard to drive by the lake every once in a while to make sure nobody's out there fishing. Here, it's just off the road, through a couple of gates, and there's even a bridge and a path to walk around the Tarlogie Springs. For more cask-strength conversation about whiskey and the people who make it, join us each week for WhiskyCast, and come back soon for another episode of WhiskyCast HD. In Tain, Scotland, I'm Mark Gillespie.